24 on for me. Test, 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 test.
The October 10th, 2023 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Alcoffer. Mr. Alcoffer is present. Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart is present. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines is present. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley is present. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew is present. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess is present. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby is present. Mr. Delahaney. Mr. Delahaney is present. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman is present. Mrs. DeFlorio. Mrs. DeFlorio is present. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer is present. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier is present. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman is present. Mr. Hebert. Mr. Hebert is present. Ms. Hugh Smith. Ms. Hugh Smith is present. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns is present. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller is present. President Lamar.
Here.
President Lamar is present. Mr. Long. Mr. Long is present. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci is present. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe is present. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne is present. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris is present. Ms. Roman. Ms. Roman is present. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith is present. Ms. Taylor. Ms. Taylor is present. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons is present. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson is present.
I would like to introduce Reverend Ruth Ferguson of Christ Church, Rochester, who has been invited by Legislator Hugh Smith to lead us in a moment of prayer.
So good evening, I'm Episcopalian, and I want you to know this isn't a Bible. This is what we have in our pews. This is the Episcopal Book of Common Prayer, because in general, our denominational tribe would rather have something amputated than have to pray spontaneously. I don't mind praying spontaneously, but these are really beautiful prayers. And I want you to know that I've adapted a prayer based on two prayers, one a prayer for the human family and one which is called a prayer for our enemies. And we adapt things a lot as well. But I will tell you that the prayer on my heart that is now spoken is that you all who have assumed the daunting sacred responsibility for enacting laws to promote the well-being of human beings who are not under this roof, I hope that you are appropriately and righteously afraid a lot of the time and struggling in a good way with your consciences. I know that I do that in my role. So let us pray. Oh God, you have made all of humanity and even the vast beauty of the created order in your own image, redeeming us forever in acts of sacrificial love, both divine and human. Take away the arrogance and hatred that infect our hearts. Deliver us from hatred, cruelty, and revenge. Break down the walls that separate us. Look with compassion on the entire human family and work through our confusion and struggle that we might someday stand before you and one another on this fragile earth, our island home, reconciled before it is too late and before it is beyond too late. Amen.
Reverend Ruth, I'll present you this certificate. I'll present you with this certificate on behalf of the legislature. Thank you very much. Please stand as Legislator Baines will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. At this time, if you can remain standing. Without objection, we will take agenda item number 28 and 29 out of the regular agenda order. Agenda item 28 is moved by Legislator Brew and seconded by Legislator Roman. Will the clerk please read the resolution entitled Expressing Regret of Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of Raymond C. Milne Jr., father of Monroe County Legislator Richard B. Milne.
Expressing regret of the Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of Raymond C. Milne Jr., father of Monroe County Legislator Richard B. Milne. Be it resolved that the Monroe County Legislature hereby expresses its deepest sympathy at the recent passing of Raymond C. Ray Milne Jr. And whereas Ray passed away September 16, 2023, at the age of 95. And whereas Ray was born on January 19, 1928 in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, where he lived until joining the United States Navy in July of 1946, proudly serving in Jacksonville, Florida. And whereas after his Navy service, he attended Hope College, where he met the love of his life, Janine. After college, Ray's career took them from Kalamazoo, Michigan to Waterbury, Connecticut, and eventually Rochester, New York, where he and Janine planted roots in Honeyway Falls with their family. And whereas Ray felt a profound sense of duty to give back to his community, serving on the Honeyway Falls Board of Trustees and Honeyway Falls Lima School Board. He was also a dedicated member of Honeyway Falls American Legion Post 663, the Honeyway Falls Mendon Rotary, and the Honeyway Falls Mendon Ambulance, as well as a devoted member of Honeyway Falls First Presbyterian Church, where he served as an elder and deacon. And whereas Ray is predeceased by his parents, Raymond Milne Sr. and Dorothy Milne, and beloved wife, Janine. He is survived by his children, Deborah, Rebecca, Raymond III, and Richard, 9 grandchildren, and 22 great-grandchildren. And whereas Ray will be remembered for his kindness and dedication to the community and his country, and he will be missed dearly by all who knew him and loved him. Be it further resolved that the clerk of the legislature is hereby requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the bereaved family. This resolution was adopted unanimously, with each legislator rising in his or her place for a moment of silence.
Agenda item number 29 is moved by Legislator Brew and seconded by Legislator Roman. Will the clerk please read the resolution entitled Expressing Regret of the Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of Margaret Walker, mother of Monroe County Communications Director Gary Walker.
Expressing regret of the Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of Margaret Walker, mother of Monroe County Communications Director Gary Walker. Be it resolved that the Monroe County Legislature hereby expresses its deepest sympathy at the recent passing of Margaret Walker, mother of Monroe County Communications Director Gary Walker. And whereas Margaret passed away on September 28, 2023 at the age of 91. And whereas Margaret was an active supporter of her children's activities, she demonstrated a passion for guiding and nurturing young minds through her volunteering as a Girl Scout and Cub Scout leader. In addition to her dedication to her children, Margaret had a keen interest in astrology and was an enthusiastic learner, amassing an impressive collection of books in her own private library. And whereas Margaret's passion for teaching Bible studies was unparalleled, and she shared her profound knowledge and faith with countless students over the years. One of the most cherished experiences of her life was a pilgrimage to the Holy Land in Israel, where she felt an undeniable spiritual connection to the places and stories she had spent her life studying. Her journey to the Holy Land was a pinnacle of her faith, and she returned with an even deeper understanding of the scriptures, which she enthusiastically imparted to her eager pupils. And whereas Margaret was predeceased by her parents, Thomas and Helen, and her beloved husband, George, she is survived by her children, Michael, Gary, Jeffrey, Faye, and Susan, 7 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren, and many more friends and family. She will be missed by all who knew her and loved her. And whereas Margaret will be remembered for being a passionate leader in her community, she will be remembered and missed by all who had the pleasure of knowing her. Be it further resolved that the clerk of the legislature is hereby requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the bereaved family. This resolution was adopted unanimously with each legislator rising in his or her place for a moment of silence.
Before everyone takes their seats, I would like to take one more moment of silence for the horrific terrorist attack in Israel this past weekend. Let's all acknowledge the tragic loss of innocent lives that have been taken overseas and the senseless ongoing violence. Let us stand in solidarity and praying for peace. Your copies of Day 9, September 12th, 2023 are available through Novus Agenda. Without exception, this journal will stand approved as submitted. Legislators, the referrals submitted to the legislature for the next committee cycle are available on Novus Agenda as well as online. There are several proclamations scheduled for this evening. Mr. Clerk.
Would Dr. Lauren Lieberman please come forward? Also, Legislator Jackie Smith and President Sabrina Lamar.
Whereas Camp Abilities was started with the purpose of helping to empower children and teens who are blind, visually impaired, and deafblind. The camp is set up to provide a one-on-one instructional situation for each camper. The Camp Abilities model, created by Lauren Lieberman, started in Brockport, New York, and is expanded to other locations, including Long Island, New York, Alaska, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Florida, Puerto Rico, Maryland, California, Texas, and Ireland. And whereas currently there are 29 Camp Abilities across the United States and the world, where over 2,000 children have been served since it was founded by Dr. Lieberman. Lauren has dedicated her life to helping as many visually impaired kids take part in the week-long educational sports camp. And whereas Lauren became involved with the visual impaired very early on in her work career, having obtained her PhD in adapted physical education with an emphasis on sensory impairments at Oregon State and going on to teach the blind at Perkins School. In 1995, as an assistant professor at SUNY Brockport, she knew she wanted to do more. With that passion, a small grant, and a lot of determination, she organized volunteers and started the first Camp Abilities. She has also been recognized for her work not only throughout the United States, but the world. The funding which Lauren helped raise has gone towards essential resources and a better experience for all involved. And whereas Lauren should be recognized and appreciated for her service to others, her strong leadership abilities have brought great success to the Camp Abilities program and continue to fulfill its mission to empower children and teens with visual impairments to be physically active and productive members of their schools, towns, cities, and communities, as well as to improve the health and well-being with people with sensory impairments. Now, therefore, we, Sabrina Lamar, President, and Jackie Smith, Legislator, District 2, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize and congratulate Dr. Lauren Lieberman for her service to our community through the Camp Abilities program.
I just wanted to thank Jackie Smith for nominating me in the Monroe County Legislature for your continued support of Camp Abilities. I started camp in 1996 with the purpose of empowering kids with visual impairments, teaching our students how to teach kids with visual impairments, and to change perceptions in the community. About 15 years ago, one of our athletes was on his sports team. He tried out for his cross country and he ran his first cross country meet and he was all over the news. And it went viral and he was all over the news in the whole country. People in California saw the news piece and people were calling me and emailing me and saying, "Isn't this awesome?" I said, "No, it's not news that a child who's visually impaired is on his cross country team. That should happen every day." Wrestling, track and field, swimming. And now, since then, because we have raised awareness, Section 5 has athletes with visual impairments on so many sports teams. We went from 23% after-school participation to over 75% of our athletes are on their after-school teams. And so our kids make the news for bigger things now, like triathlons. And one of our athletes just ran the Rochester Half Marathon in 1 hour and 37 minutes. That's what should be on the news. And so I just want to thank everyone for your awesome support for Camp Abilities. This summer will be our 29th year, and we have at least 15 kids every year who come from Monroe County and will continue to serve children with visual impairments from this area. So thank you so much.
Would Ike Mulligan please come forward? Also Legislator Paul Dondorfer and President Sabrina Lamar.
Whereas emergency medical technicians provide an irreplaceable service to our community, courageously saving the lives of our friends, neighbors, and fellow community members. EMTs answer the call to service, acting quickly and decisively, where seconds can mean the difference between life and death. And whereas this proclamation acknowledges the heroism and sacrifices of Ike Mulligan, EMT, for his efforts saving the lives of others at the risk of his own health and safety. And whereas a member of the Penfield Volunteer Emergency Ambulance Service, Ike Mulligan saved the life of an unresponsive patient while enduring a swarm of 1,000 bees, becoming stung over 250 times in the process. And whereas against all odds, Ike Mulligan managed to drag the patient 30 feet from the swarm in order to administer life-saving epinephrine to the patient, allowing further ambulance and fire services to aid in the safe and secure rescue of the patient. Now, therefore, we, Sabrina Lamar, President, and Paul Dondorfer, Legislator District 9, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize and honor Ike Mulligan for his sacrifice and dedicated service to our community and its residents.
Would members of ARC Works please come forward? Also, Majority Leader Steve Brew, President Sabrina Lamar, and County Executive Adam J. Bello.
Whereas the Arc of Monroe has been providing countless programs and services for over 1,400 people with intellectual and/or developmental disabilities and their families across our community for over 65 years. Throughout this time, the Arc of Monroe has enhanced the quality of life and self-esteem of hundreds in our community through meaningful social development, supportive employment, residential community living, and enrichment opportunities. And whereas within 5 years of their launch, the Arc of Monroe began ArcWorks in 1963 in 3 locations. The workshop offered employment opportunities and pre-vocational opportunities to people in Monroe County with intellectual and developmental disabilities. ArcWorks today has become a respected leader in manufacturing, not only here in Monroe County, but around the world. And whereas ArcWorks has even pursued an ISO certification to show how the work done at the world-class manufacturing facility can rival outside competitors of equal size. For its start 60 years ago, ArcWorks had served as a vehicle offering opportunities to people with disabilities to learn skills, gain self-esteem, and bolster self-worth through the value of work. And whereas the Arc of Monroe has been a pillar of this community for over 65 years, and its ArcWorks program a staple for 60 years, Monroe County is grateful to have peers like you in services that grow all over our county. Now, therefore, we, Adam J. Bello, County Executive, Sabrina Lamar, President, Steve Brew, Majority Leader, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize and congratulate ArcWorks on their 60th anniversary of service to our community.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tracy Petrachik, and I'm the president and CEO at the Arc of Monroe. And I truly am honored to be here this evening along with my colleagues, and can't thank the Monroe County Legislator enough for this acknowledgement and recognition. We were so thrilled when Legislator Brew was able to join us out at ArcWorks at our 60th anniversary, and just really, I mean, I don't know, it was fun, right? We had a big party, but it's more about what goes on in that building. It really is a contract manufacturing facility where we partner with so many businesses locally and across the world. And they trust that we're going to do quality work. But beyond that, it's really the services that we provide to people. We provide an opportunity to get a paycheck, to learn skills, to really gain employment opportunities inside and throughout our community. So we couldn't be prouder of the work that the people we support do. We employ about 100 people. It's an integrated facility, so people with disabilities and without, working side by side. So just a great environment. And we really hope that others within our community take the lead that these businesses have and look to ArcWorks and partner with agencies like us and offer opportunities for people with disabilities. So I invite anyone in attendance today who has an interest to learn more. We love to show off our facility. The people who work there love to have visitors come through, and I invite any and all of you to come take a tour. So thank you so much.
Would Nancy Padilla please come forward? Also, Legislator Mercedes Vasquez Simmons, Minority Leader Ursula Roman, President Sabrina Lamar, and County Executive Adam Bello.
The Monroe County Legislature recognizes Nancy Padilla, whereas it is the sense of this legislature to honor and celebrate the people and organizations that make Monroe County a better place to live, and whereas attended to such concern, the legislature is justly proud to honor Nancy Padilla. And whereas Nancy Padilla has led a life dedicated to public service and volunteer in Rochester for decades, and whereas she was born to Puerto Rican parents who ingrained in her a love and commitment to service and community activism, and whereas in 1979, Ms. Padilla became the president of the Rochester Hispanic Women's Caucus, and she also served as a delegate to the National Women's Conference. And whereas Ms. Padilla was elected to the Rochester City School Board in 1981, and upon her election, she became the first Latina elected official in Rochester and the first Hispanic to be elected to citywide office. And whereas she served as a member of the school board for 8 years and became the school board's first president of Latin American descent. And whereas after holding her position on the school board for 8 years, she was the top vote getter in a field of 10 candidates and was elected to the Rochester City Council in 1989. She served one term, then became the first Hispanic to run for Rochester mayor in 1993. And whereas Ms. Padilla was the executive director of the Puerto Rican Youth Development Resource Center and worked tirelessly to provide important services to youth in the Rochester area. And whereas she served the community in many other roles, including as a project director of the Ibero-American Action League, the Monroe County Board of Elections, and she currently serves as the executive assistant to the director of the County Department of Public Safety. And whereas Nancy Padilla is truly a trailblazer, paving the way for women in the Latin American community of Rochester. She is a true inspiration. Now, therefore, let it be known that we, Sabrina Lamar, President, Mercedes Vasquez Simmons, Legislator District 22, Ursula Roman, Minority Leader, do hereby honor Nancy Padilla on this 10th day of October, 2023.
Good evening. Buenas noches. Quite frankly, I'm really surprised. I was not expecting this honored, and I am most humbled. And I thank you, and I thank the members of the county legislature and the county exec and members of this community for your gratitude of the contributions that we have made, not just I, but that others have made to this community. I want to thank my family and many, many friends that are in the audience for your support throughout the years of my service to this community. I can't think of a better time. After all, we are actually celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, which began on September 15th and goes through October 15th. And we need to say thank you to the Latinos that have made contributions not only to the greater Rochester area, but to this nation. And given the history and what is taking place now, I believe this is also and could be a time of healing, of people coming together, because there is so much that is taking place. So as we celebrate this evening, let us think about going forward, adelante, encouraging our community. Although these are difficult times, we can overcome if we come together as a community and we continue to work together. We could achieve the goals that we want, not only for Rochester, but of this nation. I believe that strongly, that our faith in making things better, in improving the quality of life for all the residents of this community, it is possible. It is possible. And we have to continue to instill hope in this community, because there cannot always be despair. There has to be hope. So I thank you and have a good evening. Buenas noches.
Would Ellen Smith please come forward? Also, legislator Carolyn Delvecchio Hoffman and President Sabrina Lamar.
The Monroe County Legislature recognizes Ellen Smith, whereas it is the sense of this legislature to honor and celebrate the people and organizations that make Monroe County a better place to live. And whereas attending to such concern, the legislature is justly proud to honor Ellen Smith. And whereas after attending both Georgetown University and Rutgers University, Ellen Smith began her professional career in journalism. And whereas Ellen Smith worked as a journalist for nearly 3 decades and won awards from the National Press Club, Society of Professional Journalists, and received the Edward R. Murrow Award, and many more. And whereas Ellen's passion for her work, helping others, was sparked when she assisted an Army captain with gathering food donations and helping families resettle in Syracuse. And whereas Ellen served as the president of the Rochester chapter of No One Left Behind, where she helped special immigrant visa families find housing and work. And whereas in 2019, she was selected as a winner of the Hannah G. Solomon Humanitarian Award by the National Council of Jewish Women Greater Rochester section. And whereas Ellen received the Spirit of America Award by the Reserve Officers Association for her work making families feel welcome when they arrive, and whereas she has worked to educate others on the Special Immigrant Visa Program and spread awareness, and whereas Ellen Smith has worked tirelessly to help Afghan, Kurdish, and Iraqi families in the United States. And now, therefore, let it be known that we, Sabrina Lamar, President, and Carolyn Del Vecchio Hoffman, Legislator, District 25, do hereby honor Ellen Smith on this 10th day of October, 2023.
Thank you for this great honor. I am humbled. I just want to tell everyone that this has indeed been a mission of saving lives to get our Afghan and Iraqi allies to safety of the United States and to our community of Rochester. On September 9th, we resettled our 300th family in Rochester. And in that family, it was their 17-year-old daughter, Sahar, was our 1,000th SIV individual to be resettled in Rochester. And I can tell you that this 17-year-old woman is very happy not to be in the land of the Taliban. We continue our work. We meet with the US State Department every 2 weeks as part of the Afghan EVAC Coalition. And I want you to know that we can still get our Afghan allies out of Afghanistan, those who served the United States as interpreters and support personnel, or maybe they worked at our embassy as housekeepers or security guards, or they worked for USAID. It is incredibly important that we keep doing this work and we do not leave our allies behind. And I am going to say this: if not we, who? And if not now, when? Thank you.
Would William Santiago please come forward? Also, Legislator Mercedes Vasquez Simmons and President Sabrina Lamar.
The Monroe County Legislature recognizes William Santiago, whereas it is the sense of this legislature to honor and celebrate the people and organizations that make Monroe County a better place to live, and whereas attendant to such concern, the legislature is justly proud to honor William Santiago. And whereas William Doan Santiago was born in Chicago, Illinois, and moved with his family to Comoy, Puerto Rico. A few years later, he moved to Rochester as a teenager. And whereas Mr. Santiago served in the United States Navy after graduating high school, proudly serving his county. He also attended St. John Fisher College. And whereas William Santiago has been a familiar voice on the Rochester radio for 37 years. He started as an on-air personality at Jazz 90.1 WGMC FM, hosting a local Spanish language radio show. And whereas Williams' years of passionate work in Rochester radio came to fruition when he founded 97.5 La Mega in 2017 to provide 24-hour Spanish language and Latin music programming to Rochesterians. And whereas in 1990, William established Dimension Latina in Rochester's first online language radio station, meradio.com, which increased his audience far and wide. And whereas Mr. Santiago also serves as president of and founder of Uno Communications that provides advertisement in both English and Spanish. And whereas he also worked as a volunteer for over 2 decades with Rochester's Puerto Rican Festival and led humanitarian relief efforts for natural disasters in over 20 Spanish-speaking countries in the United States. And whereas in addition to all his work as a radio personality, William Santiago has worked in real estate for nearly 4 decades. And whereas William Santiago has been entertaining listeners for over 3 decades, impacting the lives of everyone who listens. Now, therefore, let it be known that we, Sabrina Lamar, President, and Mercedes Vasquez Simmons, Legislator District 22, do hereby honor William Santiago on this 10th day of October, 2023.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Thank you, Mercedes. when Mercedes reached out to me and she says, hey, William, I'm calling to tell you that we're going to be giving you this award. I'm not going to repeat what I told you because only because you told me not to. But I was in shock. And after 37 years of service to the community, she convinced me to accept. And I did. She's a good friend. I've known her for many, many years. And it's been an honor serving the Rochester community. And I hope to do it for many, many more years. Thank you so much.
I will now recess the legislature to hold a public hearing. I now declare open the public hearing on enacting a local law, amending chapter 384 entitled Pawnbrokers, Secondhand Dealers, and Jewelry and Coin Exchange Dealers.
No one is registered for this public hearing this evening.
There being none, I declare this public hearing closed. I will now reconvene October 10th, 2023 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature. There are no formal committee reports scheduled for this evening. We will now hold the public forum. We have several people registered to address the legislature. Mr. Clerk.
If you require assistance, a deputy is available to assist you in approaching the lectern. I will call 3 people forward at one time. Each speaker will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature, and kindly conclude your remarks when the timer sounds and exit through the back of the chambers over to my right. Thank you for your cooperation. The first 3 speakers are Glenna Chance, Michael Marshall, and James Rampersham.
Good evening. My name is Glenna Chance, here to speak again about the dangers of smart meters. Smart meters emit pulsed microwave radiation with no filter. They turn your wiring into a dirty electricity antenna, which extends out from the wiring through the walls 3 to 4 feet. You will be bathed in dangerous levels of microwave radiation 24 hours a day. This radiation exacerbates and/or causes cardiac damage, neurological damage, hormonal damage, autoimmune damage, ophthalmic damage. This translates to shorting out pacemakers, Parkinson's, MS, ALS, diabetes, thyroid, adrenal issues, RA, lupus, corneal damage, ADHD, violence, suicide, cancer, too many to list. This is a public health and safety emergency, which needs to be addressed by any candidate who runs on a stated platform of public safety. Do not allow this data collection surveillance device in your home. And be careful with the words opt out. Those words are contractual, and until you are presented with a contract to consider, do not attach those words to your name or account. Just say no. Thank you.
Good evening, folks. My name is Michael Marshall. I am a representative of the Poor People's Campaign here in Rochester, New York. Thank you for allowing me to have this opportunity to speak before you. It's the 3rd time I've come before you on behalf of RED, Rochester Energy Democracy, publicly owned utilities. I'm asking you as a legislative body to hear the people that I support in the Poor People's Campaign, that when this comes before you, to have a feasibility study that you give it your endorsement so that we can make informed decisions around this piece of hopeful legislation. Thank you very much.
My name is James Remisha. I know a long time ago I used to be homeless, and I seek some help, and I got it. And the next help I need is my city school district records. Because Walter Cooper told me he can't do it for me. I got to do it for myself. So, I noticed that there's a lot of homeless people in Rochester, New York. And what I observed, those people have problems like I did. So I do remember when I slept underneath a bridge for a mighty long time. So that continued to happen in Monroe County. And I do go to McDonald's and drink a cup of coffee and sit down and listen to some of these folks talk and express themselves where they're at. So I know homeless, some people are not too care for the homeless. So homeless is not only in America, it's all over the world. And so the war in the Middle East, that means that Israel will not prepare for that to happen. They normally do, but they weren't prepared. They caught off balance. So we need to help the homeless. And I know Sister Grace had a good place there. Yeah, well, what I'm saying is that Sister Grace had a place where she used to treat the homeless. And I was one of them. So my succeed is, yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Our next three speakers are Preacher Donald Adams, Dr. Michelle Wunderlich, and Robert Rock.
Once again, good evening. Once again, I'm back on this podium again to talk about homelessness. We're in code blue. Are we ready for it? We ain't no more ready for code blue than any one of y'all out here ready for Jesus. But it's gonna happen. And when it do happen, the blood stain will be on your hands. Sister Grace, you sat back there, and I've been with you for the last almost 7 years. She come up here and she asked for help. Y'all sit out there in y'all little cheap suits like you don't hear. Even sitting over there in that corner, you too. But I'm gonna tell you this here. I promise you, code blue is coming. I promise you, a blizzard is coming. I promise you that their blood stain will be on your hands. Because you know what? You sat right there, and ain't now one of y'all even made an effort to come to 122 Roycroft where Sister Grace and them trying to get them. We went up and down the streets. You got a poor out there, homeless out there. Ain't there one of y'all stop. But I promise you this here, you ain't got to do right. Because November coming. We did it once, we'll do it again. Because if you don't do what you're supposed to do, I'll meet you at the polls again and I'll get you out of there.
Hello all, I'm Dr. Michelle Wenderlich with Metro Justice. Last week, I had the opportunity to talk with Eric Williams, a board member of the Omaha Public Power District, one of 3 large utilities in Nebraska that also covers electric generation. As you may have heard from us previously, Nebraska is a state that is so clear on the structural dangers of having investor-owned utility monopolies control our basic needs on a for-profit basis that they have outlawed investor-owned utilities and only allow publicly owned utilities in the state. We talked mostly about the government's model, and I thought I'd share some examples along with those I've already talked to many of you about. They follow strategic directives that they revised in a public process facilitated by an independent organization in 2015. There are 8 board members that are directly elected and represent geographical districts, and the board is responsible for hiring a CEO, who in turn hires and oversees the leadership executive team for the rest of the employees. In this way, the board is responsible for determining what outcomes the utility must meet, while the leadership team is responsible for determining how to meet those outcomes. Each utility department creates an annual monitoring report. Board meetings are monthly and public, with comments accepted virtually and in person. Additionally, there are 4 standing subcommittees: governance, finance, system oversight, and customer and public engagement. And board terms are 6 years long and are voted on rotating basis every 2 years. They have an extensive publicly available policy binder and also a strategic directive, among other things, to be net zero by 2050. Mr. Williams stressed to me the amount that public utilities across the country are better with reliability, affordability, and environmental sensitivity, as well as encouraging customer-owned renewables. We here in Monroe County have a generational opportunity in front of us. We can continue to let RG&E run our basic infrastructure into the ground for more money overall and much more money leaving our community, or set up a system that will allow generations to come to flourish and reap the benefits of being able to have local control of our energy future. What do you choose? What will your legacy be? Commission a public utility study now. Thank you.
My name is Robert Rock. I own a small business located near Conkey Avenue in one of the poorest areas of the city. I'm here tonight to discuss the issue that impacts not only my company, but my employees and my neighbors as well. We would not even be here today if not for a small group of radicals shouting in the streets for energy democracy. There's no such thing as energy democracy. These vocal critics are the same people who are the driving force behind the other popular but equally ill-conceived plans like defunding the police in 2022. Does anyone in the room really feel safer walking the streets of Rochester today than you did 5 years ago? I think not. These alleged community groups have no idea as to the complexities of providing energy to the region. We can't allow for a vocal minority who want to manipulate the facts to have control over the narrative of our energy future. RG&E has over 175 years of experience of effectively serving over 300,000 customers in our community. The activist has 0 years. People are upset about rising costs and poor customer service. Costs are up, service is down. Your electricity costs more. Yeah, but so does your gas and so do your groceries. We're not going to take over Wegmans, are we? The reality is that RG&E still provides the second lowest energy costs in the state. That's after politicians have already tacked on 30% in taxes and surcharges. Maybe we should cut those first. I realize that RG&E needs to improve its customer service. As a business owner, I know that how difficult it is to hire people today. I was able to speak with RG&E twice in the past 2 weeks, and I had a helpful customer service representative talk to me on both occasions. A government takeover of RG&E does not guarantee lower costs. Look at what happened when Long Island Power Authority took over Long Island Lighting Company. While we enjoy some of the lowest costs in the state, LIPA has the highest cost in the country. Is that what Rochester wants, the highest cost in the country? I don't think so. GCP is a bad deal for my company, my employees, my neighbors, and all Rochesterians. We need an affordable and reliable electrical grid overseen by experts, not one managed by community activists or politicians who are so easily influenced and corrupted. Thank you.
Our last 2 speakers are John Keevert and Joseph Sayer.
I'm John Hebert. Like many of my friends, I have heeded the call to electrify everything and am ditching natural gas, moving over to a heat pump to keep my house warm in winter. Electrical supply reliability looms large. Unfortunately, our local grid operator, RG&E, doesn't have a great reliability record, especially since being bought out by Avangrid. Service just doesn't seem to be a priority for Avangrid, as another of their companies, Central Maine Power, ranked dead last in customer satisfaction in the J.D. Power Residential Customer Satisfaction Survey released in 2021. Other Avangrid electrical subsidiaries also ranked below average in J.D. Power surveys. In a large utility category, nearby NYSEG came in next to last. In the mid-size segment, RG&E ranked only 2 places above the bottom. Like Rochester, there's a group in Maine, Pine Tree Power, trying to replace the low-performing investor-owned utility with a public-owned utility. Corporations will massively fund sophisticated PR campaigns to try to convince you that customer-owned utilities are more expensive and less reliable than for-profits. Real-world experience is exactly opposite. They are cheaper and more reliable. One concern with replacing RG&E is the history of deferral of maintenance and system upgrades. A new community-centered owner will want to deal with this promptly, which could be expensive. Since a public-owned utility has access to much lower interest rates on bonds and also federal disaster aid, this still favors a transition to a more responsible utility that reports directly to the community, not shareholders. I implore you to fund a study on replacing RG&E so that we can get out of the energy service gutter. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Sayer, and I'm back once again to speak about the consideration of spending taxpayer dollars to nationalize a private company. I spoke a lot about my experience working at RG&E and living here in Rochester the last time I was here, but today I wanted to discuss some of the misinformation that's being put out there regarding the fact that a government-controlled utility would lead a transition to a clean energy environment cheaper and quicker than RG&E and Avangrid. We have tried that in Rochester with the automatic enrollment of city residents in the community distributed solar. This policy led to significant rate increases on the supply side for your Rochester residents. My rate in the 19th ward almost doubled. The way to make an effective clean energy transition is the consistent creation of clean energy generation facilities. This will result in having reliable, safe, and affordable power for all New Yorkers. It is on this that our parent company Avangrid is leading the way, being the 3rd largest onshore renewable operator in the country. Throughout the country, Avangrid has built almost 9 gigawatts of wind and solar power, which is enough to power 6.5 million homes. This is in addition to the current ongoing projects that should result in additional thousands of megawatts of power generation capability that should be coming online over the next few years. Simply put, a government-owned utility would not have the resources or regulatory ability to build new renewable energy generation facilities, which are definitely necessary to transition to a clean energy future. RG&E has been a great partner to the greater Rochester region for 175 years, and I'm asking you to allow us to continue that partnership for years to come. Thank you.
This concludes the public forum.
We will now proceed with the consideration of local laws. Will the clerk please read the first item on the agenda?
Item number 1, referral 23-0272.LL, providing that local law amending Chapter 384 entitled Pawnbrokers, Secondhand Dealers, and jewelry and coin exchange dealers be lifted from the table.
Moved by legislator McCabe, seconded by legislator Don Dorfer. This is to lift from the table. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 2, referral 23-0272.LL, providing that local law amending chapter 384 entitled Pawnbrokers, Secondhand Dealers, and Jewelry and Coin Exchange Dealers be adopted.
Moved by legislator McCabe, seconded by legislator Don Dorfer and Roman.
Noted.
This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. We will now proceed with the consideration of motions, resolutions, and notices. Will the clerk please read the next item on the agenda? Legislator Brew?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I move that we move the remaining agenda items as one, with the exception of the following referral numbers. Item numbers, I'm sorry. Item number 4, 15, 17, 21, and 25. Again, those are item numbers 4, 15, 17, 21, and 25.
You got second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 4.
Okay, we should be on item number 4. Is everyone good with that? Item number 4, referral number 23-0279, authorizing acquisition of easements and real property for Parish Road Drainage Improvement Project in Town of Mendon.
Moved by legislator Smith, seconded by legislator Delahanty. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, legislator Hebert.
The administration. Eminent domain.
Can you
is
speak into the mic?
mentioned
I can't hear you.
Sorry?
Speak into the mic.
Okay, I'll try more.
Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Madam President, the administration. The referral actually uses the term eminent domain. Are we having trouble with the owners to sell this? Very right, or why is it in there? It's a little unusual.
Through the administration, we're not having any trouble with the property owners.
Okay, so eminent, so through you, Madam President, the administration, it's unlikely eminent domain will be required.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Okay. So through you, Madam President, to the administration, it is unlikely that eminent domain will be required in this case.
Through the president, correct.
Thank you. That's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item 15.
Item number 15, referral number 23-0290, authorizing the Director of Transportation to concur with the City of Rochester's award of a construction contract relating to North Goodman Street project and authorizing County Executive to enter into agreements, amendments, and other documents with the City of Rochester necessary to implement the county share of the project.
Moved by legislator Morris, seconded by legislator Smith. Is there any, and legislator Vasquez Simmons.
Got it.
Is there any discussion? Go ahead, legislator Hebert.
Thank you, Madam President. Once again, through you to the administration. When was the cost of this project estimated and by whom was it estimated?
Yes, through the president, it was estimated by the city of Rochester, and it would have been a few years ago. We save about $750,000 per year, and then when it adds up to a certain dollar value, that's when the city elects to do a project.
Okay, and through you, Madam President, the administration, what happens if the construction costs exceed the anticipated cost? Does the county share increase?
Through the chair, no, it's a set dollar value.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item number 17.
Item number 17, referral 23-0292, amending resolution 74 of 2020, extending the contract with New York State Unified Court System for provision of court security services by Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
Moved by Legislator Downdorfer, second by Legislator Smith. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Legislator Hebert.
President, once again, through you to the administration, I believe not too long ago, this body approved a new contract for the deputies. I notice, however, in this that the payment from the state is flat for up to 4 years. How do we cover the raises that we approve for the court deputies?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question to the chair?
Sure. I believe this body approved a new contract for these deputies not that long ago, and it had annual salary increases. However, this referral is flat in that it's at $9,852,000 and change. And how do we cover the increases that the salaries for these deputies, given that we have a flat income stream?
Through the chair, Kim Hinckley, Counsel to the Sheriff. I believe the amount of the contract has incorporated the raises, which will be in effect next year.
You believe, or that is for sure, through you, Madam President?
That's through the chair. That's my belief. I will double check with that and get back to the body.
Thank you. That's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Go ahead, Legislator.
To Chair, I believe Public Safety, we requested a copy of the contract, which has not been received.
Through the chair, I'm unaware of that request. I'll certainly get one to the caucuses.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item 21.
Item number 21, referral 23-0296, authorizing contract with EFPR Group, CPAs PLLC to perform professional auditing services specific to the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021.
Moved by Legislator Smith, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. Is there any discussion? Legislator Hebert?
Due to the administration, first of all, thank you for doing this. What are the ARPA requirements for this type of auditing for these various awardees?
Through the president, ARPA itself does not require auditing. It requires the county to be in compliance with the uniform guidance in the Code of Federal Regulations governing ARPA. This auditing firm will help ensure that the county is in compliance with our requirements under the uniform guidance.
Thank you. And through you, Madam President, the administration, how will this body be made aware of the findings from this contract, and with what frequency will we be updated?
The internal audit department will provide from that auditing firm an annual report to the audit committee at the annual audit committee meeting that will be in conjunction with the other audits performed throughout the year.
Thank you. And through you, Madam President, could this body receive a copy of the audit report from the audit committee?
Through the president, sure, we will provide a copy to this body.
Thank you, Madam President. I yield the floor.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, 25.
Item number 25, referral 23-0300, authorizing to memorialize Davis Road in towns of Chilai and Riga in honor of Mercy Flight pilot James Sauer.
Moved by Legislator Morris, seconded by Legislator Smith. Is there any I'm sorry. Seconded by Legislator DeFlorio as well. Is there any discussion? Go ahead.
Madam President, I rise to explain my vote on this item. I was contacted by Michael Sowers to memorialize Davis Road in the towns of Chilai and Riga after his late uncle, James Sowers. For a little background, well, first I want to say thank you to Director Fries and the Law Department, as well as Chilai Fire Department for their support in this dedication. James Sowers was a hero who tragically died as part of the Mercy Flight crash in Monroe County. He served our country in the United States National Guard, Army National Guard for over 40 years, and our community, both as a civilian pilot for the New York State Police, as well as a Rochester police officer, and a Mercy Flight pilot and trainer. In Michael's own words, his Uncle Jim is a true hero who should be remembered by everyone who drives down the road he lived on. I am honored to play a small part in helping to make this happen, and I ask all of my colleagues to join me in supporting this referral. Assuming that the referral passes, a formal dedication will take place in the spring when all of his family members can attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Legislator DeFlorio. Is there any other discussion? Go ahead, Legislator Baines.
I'd like to thank Legislator DeFlorio for her work and recognition. And just for my clarification, through you, what will the signage be, or how will this be executed so that all the folks who drive down that road will see the name of Sauer?
Through the president, we will install the signs when it gets closer to the memorialization ceremony. We will cover them, and then once everybody is there, we'll actually uncover them.
Thank you. Through you, Madam President, is there a sign at each end of the road, or one sign kind of cover the memorialization?
Through the president, there'll be one sign on each end of the road.
Spectacular. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Legislator DeFlorio.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. There being no unfinished business, Legislator Brew.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. This meeting of the Monroe County Legislature stands adjourned. The next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, November 14th, 2023 at 6 p.m.